This next tip, this is a big one. Listen up. Hey guys, it's KJ from Disney Mom Life. Welcome back. Today we are going to be talking about my top tips for bringing your toddler to Walt Disney World. At the time of filming, I do have a 3-year-old girl and a 1.5-year-old boy. I also have one on the way. So I have had my fair share of experience with toddlers in Walt Disney World. John and I both do work for Disney, so we do go to Disney quite a bit, usually like 3 to 4 times a year, 5 times a year, depending on the year. Usually when I'm pregnant, might be about like 3 times a year, but that's we usually go 3 to 5 times a year, so we have a lot of experience in taking our toddlers to Disney. So I've compiled this list of Disney tips, and I have so many tips, in fact, that I have to break this video up into a 2-parter, otherwise I'll be here forever. So today we are going to be focusing on all the things you need to do before you even step foot in Walt Disney World. That's right, there are so many things to do before you even get to the parks. So that is what we will focus on today. And if you guys are new to the channel, we do a ton of Disney videos. Every single Wednesday we put out Disney videos. We also put out Disney cruise videos on Sundays. We recently went on a Disney cruise, so we have a lot of Disney cruise content coming your way. And with summer coming up, we will probably be doing even more Disney videos. So I think we're going to be having Disney videos on Tuesdays as well, related to Walt Disney World, just because with summer and traveling, I thought that, I'd give you guys some bonus videos on Tuesdays. We also do a lot of shop with me videos. And if you are a Disney fan, we always show all of the Disney stuff whenever we do these shop with me's. And then as the summer goes on and we get into fall and Christmas and all that stuff, because yes, it's like, spring and I'm already thinking about fall and Christmas. We do a lot of home decor and decorating things. So if you like any of those things, oh, and also the decor is always Disney related. So if you like any of those things, we would love to have you subscribe if you are new. Give this video a big thumbs up. It really helps spread the word about our channel. Now, with all of that out of the way, let's get into my top tips for taking your toddler to Walt Disney World. Now, these tips are in no particular order, so I'm just gonna go through them. We're gonna get through them. I'm gonna give you all the tips and let's dive right in. My first tip is to measure your child before you go to Disney. So why do I say this? Disney has several rides that do have height requirements. So I think the basic or the first height requirement might be 32 inches, and then it's like 32, 38, 40, 42, 48, something like that. So there are several markers that your kids have to make in order to ride certain rides. So measure your child before you go. This way you can anticipate, can you go on this ride? So you can sort of prepare your little one, if they really wanted to go on Star Tours, but they're just a little bit too short, you've already prepared them that, you may not be able to go on. This way that sort of like gives them that like preparation. And my other tip that sort of goes hand in hand with that is to practice having your child get measured, because they tend to like wiggle around and move around. So if they're like just barely making it, you really want your little one to be like practice standing up tall, straight, so that they do reach that cutoff. But again, just make sure you prepare them, because maybe they reach the cutoff at home in certain shoes, but you'll get to Disney and they'll tell you, actually, you're not going to make the cut. So just a cautionary tale. This is a long time ago. My sister is 30. I have 3 younger sisters, and my 30-year-old sister, when she was 3, 4, 5 in that range, we had gone to Disney, one of our trips, and when we got to Space Mountain, so a lot of the rides you have to get measured twice. You get measured at the entrance of the attraction, and then you might get measured like shortly before you go on the attraction. They won't necessarily do that for every ride, but most of the rides that have a height requirement, they require you to be measured twice. So my sister, she passed it on the first time, waited hours and hours in line. This is before Fast Pass, like this is going back a ways. We waited in line. She got to the front of the line, and guess what? They told her she wasn't tall enough. After we waited like an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever it was for Space Mountain, yeah, they told her, you can't ride. So make sure you measure your kids and prepare them. I cannot stress that enough, because, you may have a little one that's like going to be very upset, and as a parent, I'll be upset too. So just so you guys know, Disney did give us, back then, there were no Fast Passes, but they gave us like the equivalent of Fast Passes. So we got to ride Splash Mountain and Big Thunder Mountain. I went with my cousins, and there's 9 of us, plus our parents, grandparents. There's a lot of us, like 20 of us. That got to go to the front of the line for those 2 rides, which was pretty cool. So unfortunately, my sister did not get to ride, but at least Disney, was kind enough to do that for us. But again, please, this is probably my biggest tip of all of the preparation ones. Measure your children and prepare them. Okay, With that one out of the way, let's move on. When you are booking your trip, make sure you request a crib or pack and play. It really just depends on what Disney has at that particular resort. We used to always ask for a pack and play and they'd always bring us a crib and we'd be like, no, we want the pack and play. And then one time they didn't have any pack and plays and we had the crib. Turned out my son was fine with it. He actually preferred the crib, even though he sleeps in a pack and play at home. He did fine with that. So just at the time of your reservation, make sure you request that. Also make sure if you have a little one and you want to have a bed rail, you request that as well at the time of booking. I don't know about you guys, but I have multiple strollers. I have some singles and I have some doubles. All of them are hand-me-downs. That's why I just have an insane amount of strollers. But that said, we have a Bob stroller. Bob stroller is no good for Walt Disney World. It actually might make the requirements. I'm not sure. I've never actually like measured it, but I advise not taking the Bob stroller. It's like really bulky and pain in the neck and it's bulky. I have a Combi, a double stroller, and I actually have a video on how we set up our stroller. So I'll link that down below so you guys can check that out. But make sure you measure your stroller and that it fits the requirements for Walt Disney World. On their site, it says that you can't have a wagon. I've seen people have wagons. Maybe it's like a particular wagon you cannot have, but just measure your stroller and make sure that it meets the requirements that Disney has on their website so that you don't get to the parks and they're like, hey, by the way, you can't take that stroller in. I've never actually seen that happen. I mean, but maybe it does. I mean, there's a reason why it's on their website. So just measure your stroller and make sure that it meets Disney's requirements. Another tip about strollers, let's say you have little ones, maybe they're 5 and 6 years old and they can walk through the airport, they'd be fine in the airport, but you think like at the resort or at the parks they would need a stroller. At the parks you can rent these strollers directly from Disney, but just remember you won't have them at your resorts. You have to get them at the entrance of the parks and then return them before you leave. They also have third-party companies you guys can check out that you can rent your strollers from. I have a couple of friends who have done that. Their kids are a little bit older, so that's typically what they do when they go to Florida. They use a third-party company. They meet you at your Disney resort. They give you the stroller, the double, the single, whatever you guys need, and then they can take it to the parks. And then when you're done with your trip, you have them, you arrange for them to pick it up as well. So that's something else you can do if you just don't want to have to worry about bringing it on the plane and your kids are old enough, you know, to walk through the airport, because that's like the biggest thing. My next tip is about snacks. So we bring a lot of snacks with us. We bring a lot of non-perishable snacks with us just to have on the plane and to have in the room and in our park bag. It's just easier to have non-perishable snacks. Like I might have some things, you know, fresh fruit for the plane and whatnot, but typically I bring a lot of yogurt pouches, applesauce pouches, other types of fruit pouches, granola bars, Cliff bars for myself, you know, all those kinds of things. So whatever your kids like, whether it's, you know, Pirate's Booty or something, or Cheez-Its, or, you know, veggie straws, all those sorts of snacks. We love the yogurt and the applesauce pouches. Like my kids go through them like this. So they're just so easy because the caps screw back on and whatnot. It's just, we just find it easy. So whatever your kids like, make sure you bring tons of non-perishable snacks with you because listen, it's Disney, you're walking around, you're doing a lot of stuff, you're gonna get hungry, and sometimes you look at like the lines, the snack lines, and you're like, I don't wanna wait, you know, in line for a pretzel, or listen, we just had lunch, like, you don't need to get, you know, a Dole Whip right now, like, here, have a yogurt, whatever the case may be. Typically, we will have like a breakfast in the room, and it's really just snacking before we get to our first actual meal, so just bring snacks, non-perishable snacks, can't say that enough. The other thing you can do, now we've personally never done this, but I've watched a lot of vlogs on this about ordering groceries ahead of time. So if you're going to be at Disney for, you know, more than like 2 or 3 days, you may want to put in a grocery order. So, you know, Google that, check that out. There's tons of information out there. Again, we haven't personally done that, but this way, if you did want to have more like fresh food in your room, or if you're staying off property at a, you know, a VRBO or something like that, this way you know, have that option also to have your groceries delivered to your resort or to your, you know, Airbnb or what have you. So just make sure you check that out before you head down. Now, along those same lines of food, make sure you book your dining as soon as your window opens. So if your window opens 30 days out or 60 days out or whatever it is, make sure you book your dining, especially and particularly character dining. Character dining is very popular with toddlers and little ones, and it does sell out quickly. Now that said, you can check day of or day before. Like we've gotten dining reservations last minute. We've gotten Chef Mickey's day of, day before. People do cancel. But if you can, try to do it in advance and in as far advance as you can. You have a better chance of getting the time that you want, of actually getting the reservation. Like something like Topolino, like when that first opened up, we were able to get a reservation. It was at 7:30 in the morning, and that was like at the start of our window. And another tip, if you are going away for, say, your trip is 7 days, you can book from that whole week, from like the first day. So if you're going on a Monday, you can book, you know, your 30 or 60 days out, but you can book your entire week, even though it's like more than 60 days out. So what we typically do is book our farthest day first, because that tends to have less people that are accessing it. So that'll be another tip when you're booking your dining, book your farthest day first and then work your way back. Another thing to remember when you are booking your dining, even if you have a little one, so when we went, when the baby was, you know, under a year old, he went at 3 months, 6 months, 10 months, and 11 months, before he even turned a year old, he'd been there 4 times. You do have to count your child in your dining reservation, because it is for like the fire code. The restaurant needs to know, for fire code purposes, they need to account for every person. So even if they're not going to be eating, you need to include them in your reservation. But here's a fun fact. If you do have children that are 2 and under, they do eat for free at the buffets and the all-you-can-eat. So something like Crystal Palace, where it is a buffet, your kids 2 and under, they do eat for free. And if it's something like an all-you-can-eat, like Rodeo Roundup Barbecue, you also do not have to pay for your kids that are 2 and under. And another little tip, but let's say you're going to a restaurant that doesn't fall into either of those categories, like Space 220. A lot of those restaurants do offer something complimentary for your kids that are 2 and under. When we went to Space 220, they gave us a bowl of mac and cheese. So the kids ate mac and cheese, and then I'd like supplement with some snacks and also shared like off of my plate. So keep that in mind as well when you're booking dining ahead of time. Again, especially those character dinings, do them as far in advance as you can. And remember, your kids that are 2 and under, they do eat for free. So we did a lot of character dining before when he turned 3, because she was free. So highly recommend doing that. If you are planning to dress your little one in their favorite princess outfit, I do recommend getting that before you head to Disney World. When you buy them in the parks, they do have quite a bit of sticker shock. Like, they are pretty pricey. So you can check Amazon, Walmart, Target, and actually Shop Disney. Shop Disney has so many deals all the time. They have things that are constantly on sale, on clearance, you know, free shipping. You know, they have a lot of days, like I'll get emails all the time that are like, okay, today only, like free shipping. Usually like once a month at least, like they usually offer free shipping. So make sure if you do plan to have your little one dress up, you buy the outfit beforehand if you can. Florida is hot. We're from New York, and it gets hot in the summer, but there is nothing like Florida heat, the humidity. So if your kids are not used to wearing hats and sunglasses, I definitely recommend getting those sunglasses on, getting the hat on, getting them used to it, because on our last trip, my little guy, he wore his hat. He had always worn his hat. He had a more like fitted, it was a ball cap, but it like just fit him a little bit better. Now he's kind of in that, like, he doesn't really fit in the baby hats, but he doesn't fit in like the, you know, little kid hats just quite yet. So he had a hat that he wore every single trip, from his 3-month trip to his 15-month-old trip. And then when we took him when he was 18 months, well, I lost the hat. Now, John told me, take it off him. He keeps taking it off, like, take it away from him. I didn't listen to him. I was like, oh, I'll walk behind the stroller. He won't drop it. But then I got sidetracked because I was like, oh, we gotta get a picture in front of the purple wall. And then I stopped paying attention to him, and we lost the hat. You know, it was only a $5 hat, but still, then we didn't have a hat. I had his like pool hat, which is like I'll insert a picture. He looks sort of like a safari guy, like he's on a safari. It has like the cap here and then kind of the neck covering. So that's like his pool hat. But anyway, if your kids are not used to it, try to get them used to it. Whatever hat you plan on having them wear, have them wear it before the trip. So we have an upcoming trip, and I've had my little guy, he's been wearing his Target hat now. My mom got like 2 of them just in case we did lose one of them. We have an extra one. So he's been wearing it like anytime we're outside. And if it's, you know, if it's cold when you're going, like cold where you are, but you know, it will be warm in Florida, just like stick it on them, try to get them used to it. Same with the sunglasses, like when you're in the car, every time you get in the car, put them on, just try to get them used to it, because those things can easily go missing. So just try to get your kids as used to it as possible. This next tip, this is a big one. Listen up. Now, if you're going to Walt Disney World, you are probably somewhat interested in Disney, somewhat like Disney. Maybe you're a lukewarm fan of Disney. But if your kids are not too familiar with Disney, read Disney books with them, go to the library, take out the Disney books, rent the Disney movies, get Disney Plus, do a free trial of Disney Plus, or if you already have Disney Plus, you know, introduce the characters to them. There's Mickey shorts that are great, the Mickey's Mouse Clubhouse, Mickey Mouse Funhouse, tons of Mickey stuff out there. If your kids are into the princesses or pirates, you know, you can watch the princess movies. You have Peter Pan, just all the different movies that are out there, the characters that you're likely going to see. Familiarize your kids with them. Like I said, if you don't want to have to like buy all the Disney books, head to the library or local library, take out a bunch of books, you know, in the weeks, months leading up to your trip. Get your kids excited. Like maybe every weekend you watch 1 or 2 Disney movies, or you know, every day, you know, you have your TV time, however, you know, everyone's screen time is different, but maybe for screen time, whenever they have it, you know, you have them watch a Mickey Mouse Clubhouse or whatever it is. Get them used to the Disney characters. Definitely the Fab Five, but like 6 really if you count Daisy. And if you plan to take your little ones to meet the princesses or Winnie the Pooh and those characters, just get them familiar. Read the books, watch the movies. I cannot stress this enough. This way they get familiar. And another thing you may want to do is watch some YouTube videos of people's vlogs going to Disney where you can actually see what the characters will look like. Prepare your kids like this is what the characters look like. They look very different from the cartoons that you see to then actually seeing, you know, a fur character in person. So that's like just another way you can get them used to seeing the characters and that, you know, they can meet them when they get to Walt Disney World. The next tip, try on your kids' clothes before you head to Walt Disney World. If you are going, say, in March or spring break time and it's still cool where you are and you're going to have your kids wear their summer clothes from the year before, try them on. They might not fit. So make sure you try everything on. This way you're like not packing and you get to Disney and you're like, oh no, like these clothes are too small. So please, please, please make sure you try your kids' clothes on before you head to Disney. Now, another tip going along the same lines as clothes, if you want to have Disney themed clothes, get them before your trip. You may be like, oh, I'll pack a few things and whatever I don't have, I'll just get at the parks. Don't do this. Get your stuff beforehand. Check Walmart, check Target, check Amazon, check Etsy. Check Shop Disney. If you want to get your stuff directly from Disney, Shop Disney is the place to go. Again, they have tons of clearance deals, they have sales, they have the free shipping, you know, every so often. So definitely check out Shop Disney. Get your Disney clothes beforehand. You know, and again, along those same lines, if you want to make your shirts, whether you have a Cricut, like I like to make shirts with my Cricut, so I'll do that, or check out Etsy. And also, get your accessories ahead of time. I love Mama with the Mouse. I have like, I don't even know how many pairs of her earrings, like tons. So get your accessories, get them beforehand. Target, Walmart, Amazon, Etsy. Mama with the Mouse, she's on Etsy, so I will link her below. I just get that stuff ahead of time. This way you're not paying an arm and a leg in the parks for it. Get it ahead of time. And also Shop Disney. Again, definitely check Shop Disney. If you have a newly potty trained little one, or even if your child isn't newly potty trained, but they've only really ever used the restrooms, you know, where they're comfortable, like at home or at, you know, daycare or school, get them used to public bathrooms. I know it's kind of a weird tip, but when Winnie first started going, like venturing out, she did not like going in places that were not home. So fortunately for us, when we first potty trained her, her next Disney trip wasn't for like 2 or 3 months. So we were able to like acclimate her to public restrooms, but just practice the public restrooms. Also, get yourself a toddler potty seat. Highly recommend. We have a Mickey one. It like folds up on itself. Like it's just really easy to travel with. We use it, you know, I just always keep it in my diaper bags. Like I always have it whenever we go to the library or, you know, out to eat or wherever we're going. Like when we're home locally, I always have that with us. And then that's what I bring to Walt Disney World. This way your kid's used to it, because the potty seat she has at home is not the same one as the one that we take when we're traveling. So get yourself a potty seat and have your child practice with that potty seat, as well as like in public places if you can, just because you don't want your child to have a meltdown and like have a regression because they don't want to use, you know, the public potty and whatnot. So do yourself a favor and practice that before you go. Keeping along the same lines as buying things before your trip, it's going to be so tempting to want to buy souvenirs at the Disney parks. And I definitely recommend that you should. We usually come home with a few things, but especially if it's your first trip or you haven't been in a long time, I would recommend doing something called the Disney Ferry. Now, what is the Disney Ferry? So every day when you leave, you'll hang back while dad and the kids, or, you know, the other adult and the kids head out, venture out of the room, leave something from the Disney Ferry. So whether it's a set of pajamas you got from Target or Walmart that are Disney themed, or you go to the dollar store and get some like Disney tchotchkes, or you go to Shop Disney and get some Disney things, or whatever place you choose to get them. This way you tell your kids like, hey, I know you really, really want this, but the Disney Ferry has something very special for you waiting at the room when we get back tonight. This way you're saving yourself a bit of money, your kids still get like the excitement of getting something on the trip. And again, I'm not saying don't buy something. If you see something you really like and you want to get your child a souvenir, like go for it. But if you can foresee this being a thing, try the Disney Ferry out. Just get yourself some things before you go to Disney and just have them in the room so that way, you know, it's exciting for the kids. It's kind of like the fish extenders on the Disney cruise, like along those same lines. So I just think it's like a cute idea this way, instead of like splurging and buying everything you see, you know, all these souvenirs. You already have some things like for the kids, and again, it gets them excited. Like when we did the fish extender on our Disney cruise, Winnie loved coming back every night and seeing what she got in her fish extender, and that was something that we did just for us. Like we didn't do it with anybody else. I just every night put something in, and everything was just from like the dollar store, like little Disney things like for her to color or whatever, and she was so excited. So try the Disney Fairy. If you have a noise machine, if your child needs to sleep with a noise machine, I highly recommend downloading an app. I have been using an app. It's the only thing I've ever used. We use an old iPhone and an old iPad for our kids. I also have it on my phones because I don't actually travel with the old iPad or old phone. So I have the app on my phone. This way when we go to Disney in the hotel, I already have it, and my kids are already used to it, but I would recommend downloading the app. I'll show you guys here what it is. And it's not sponsored or anything. It's just my sister told me about it when Winnie was a baby, so that's just what I've been using for the last 3.5 years. But use that in the weeks leading up to your trip so your kids get used to it. I mean, we just use like a rain noise, and I guess it's pretty standard. I'm sure most noises are the same, but I just do recommend it's just one less thing you have to carry, and it's on your phone, and it's just so easy. And that's what I would recommend you do. My final tip in this long list of tips, practice walking with your stroller. If it's warm out where you're going to Disney, like where you live, if where you live is currently warm, walk, because you're going to be doing tons of walking in Walt Disney World. So especially with a stroller, if you know your kids are a little bit older, pop them in the stroller and just get used to pushing that weight. And guess what? It's going to be even heavier because you're likely going to have a backpack on your back or hanging from the stroller. So I definitely recommend practice walking with your stroller. And if it is cold out where you are at the time, like when you're, you know, that you can't be outside to practice, go to the mall, go to Target, just practice walking so you're used to it and used to walking like at a quick pace with your stroller. Usually before every trip, the weeks leading up to our trip, I am out there, especially pregnant right now, and pushing a double stroller. Like I practiced, you know, pregnant with one toddler in the stroller, but now I have 2 toddlers in the stroller. Now I was about 21 weeks our last trip. So I was pretty pregnant. I practiced walking with the double stroller. Now I'm going to be even more pregnant. So I have been practicing again with the double stroller, pushing it, getting used to it, getting myself like in that stroller shape, because even though I work out, you know, usually 5 or 6 days a week, I do my prenatal workouts, it's not the same as like pushing a stroller, especially a double stroller while pregnant. So get used to pushing your stroller. Do it in the weeks leading up to your trip. I promise you, you'll be so happy that you did. I hope you guys enjoyed these tips and tricks for bringing your toddler to Walt Disney World. Again, this is only part 1. These are only the tips I have that are before you even go to Disney World. If you did find these tips helpful, I would really appreciate it if you guys give this video a big thumbs up. Again, it really helps spread the word about our channel. And if you are new and you like Disney tips, Disney tricks, especially with little ones, with toddlers, with babies, you know, please subscribe. And with that, stay tuned for part 2. But with that, I will see you guys real soon. Bye.